Okay, take a deep breath in. And on the outward breath, allow your eyelids to close. That's it. And as you breathe in, I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that you're breathing in a resourceful state of relaxation. And that as you exhale, any feelings of stress and tension is leaving your body in your outward breath. Continue to breathe in and breathe out. And I want you to deliberately intend to extend the length of those breaths. So as you exhale, breathe for slower and longer, and exhale more than you normally would. And when you get to the end of that breath, before breathing in again, just leave your lungs with no air in, so that on the next inward breath, just get a sense that you're breathing in this resourceful feeling of relaxation. And I want you to use your imagination to picture a color that represents resourceful relaxation to you. Maybe a bright, vibrant, warm color. So that as you breathe in, imagine that warm, vibrant color is going in through your nose, filling your body with a feeling of resourcefulness and relaxation. And then scan your body for any feelings of tension, perhaps around your eyes, temple, jaw. Just imagine that that's melting away, so that as you exhale, that vibrant, bright color that came in is then a darker color as it leaves your body, representing the tension that is being released, enabling you to feel deeper and deeper relaxed. Focus on the muscles on your eyelids. Just imagine them releasing that tension. Just get a sense that it's okay to let go of that tension. Then around the eyebrows, that's it. Eyelids feeling heavier and heavier and heavier. And as you exhale, just get a sense that that released tension is now leaving your body. It's no longer inside you. It's exhaled in that outward breath. As your body relaxes, your imagination becomes more active. And just imagine that the imagination itself is the interface between the conscious and the unconscious mind. You activate your unconscious imagination all the time in daydreams and recalling memories. We're going to do it deliberately now to facilitate a useful change, so that your future has more options, more freedom than the past. As your body relaxes, I want you to recall a time where you were in a garden that is important to you. Perhaps you can imagine being back in your body in that garden, feeling relaxed, breathing the fresh air, feeling perhaps sunshine on your skin, seeing the blueness of the sky, the occasional white fluffy cloud. Maybe you can hear the occasional bird just tweeting. Maybe there's butterflies around. Maybe you can see the colours in flowers. And I want you to get a sense that being in this garden just makes you feel warm, relaxed, and loose. I want you to imagine that if your brain, your mind, was an old-fashioned kettle, at this point, there's just cold water in that kettle. There's no pressure there at all. If it was a pot on a stove, the stove isn't even switched on. I want you to get a sense of how good it feels to have no tension and just to feel relaxed. And if it does feel relaxed, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And I want you to notice that the more that you notice those things outside of your body, the blueness of the sky, perhaps the greenness of the grass, those different colors of the flowers, and maybe you can see a butterfly, hear a bird, see a bee. And I want you to get a sense that when your focus is outside of yourself, tension is low. As you breathe in and breathe out, just get a sense that you feel so relaxed here in this garden that you can imagine what it would be like to have a nap in that garden. And I want you to find some kind of comfortable furniture in that garden, and if there wasn't one at the time, you can just create one in your imagination, even something completely inappropriate. You could imagine a first class airline seat that reclines in this garden randomly. Imagine climbing up on that airline seat, feeling the softness, the comfort, reclining it in exactly the position that you would want. And I want you to breathe in and breathe out as I count from 10 to 1, and with each descending number you will feel 10% deeper and deeper relaxed, releasing any remaining tension and anxiety. 10, focus on the muscles around your forehead, breathing in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, and then exhaling that tension. 9, any muscles in your jaw, around your mouth, breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, and as you exhale, just release it. Just feel like if your jaw was machinery, it's being oiled and it's loose. That's it. And then 8, focusing on the muscles in your neck and your shoulders. Imagine any tension that's trapped in there is like crystals of ice and they're just melting away in the sun. That's it. 7, all the way down your arms to the tips of your fingers. And then 6, breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation so that even your internal organs are starting to relax. And then 5, into your gut. That's relaxing. 4, your legs. 3, all the way down to your toes. And imagine what it would be like to have a nap there on that luxurious airline seat in this garden under the sunshine. 2 and then 1, imagine what it would be like to fall asleep in that garden, being able to access even more of your powerful subconscious mind. That's right. And now you're inside your imagination, and your imagination can access memories. And I want you to remember a time that was perhaps a time of stress, anxiety, or tension. I want you to climb into that body that you were in before the tension was even there. To know what it felt like to be free of tension. And then to notice that as certain things happen, that tension increased. I want you to get a sense that the level of tension is proportionate to the level of your evaluations. That when you evaluate, you have less choices, tension rises. When there's things you have to do rather than want to do, tension rises. I want you to get a sense that whenever you evaluate that you can't handle and can't cope with the situation, tension rises. Whenever you evaluate that things are happening to you rather than with you, tension rises. Whenever your inner dialogue is doom and gloom and full of consequences, tension rises. And if this feels like it's true for you, let me know by nodding your head. And for a while now, you've been feeling frustrated that you're not in control. And because you're not in control, you evaluate that more things are happening to you, and then the anxiety and tension increases. Perhaps you've been trying to maintain control with your coping strategies, things you prepare, things you avoid. But you've been looking in the wrong place. The answer is not in your coping strategies. The answer is not in your preparation. The answers are in your evaluations. I want you to entertain an idea. As your evaluations change, tension also changes. When you evaluate that you can cope with something, tension reduces. When you evaluate that there's nothing that you have to do, there's just things that you can choose to do, tension reduces. When you change that inner dialogue from all these things that are going to happen to you to things that are happening for you, tension reduces. I want you to get a sense that your evaluations enable you to release the tension at any point. I want you to imagine that your head is an old-fashioned kettle, one of those ones with the whistle. And I want you to imagine that the way in which you release the pressure in that kettle is with an empowering evaluation. One of the most empowering evaluations is simply that this isn't easy, but I can handle this. An evaluation could be, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That rather than this making you weaker, it makes you more resilient, giving you evidence that you can cope. I want you to imagine that you are about to do something that in the past has caused tension. But just before you leave the house, I want you to look in the mirror and see your head as an old-fashioned kettle. Just to check that your head is actually that kettle, I want you to imagine knocking on the kettle just to make sure it has that kind of metallic tin kind of sound. And then imagine leaving the house. I want you to imagine that perhaps you start a journey. Look in that mirror, check you have a kettle for a head. And then I want you to scan your body. Scan your body for any feelings, perhaps muscle tension, perhaps an elevated heart rate, or perhaps tension around your temples, around your head. And I just want you to evaluate that I'm more resourceful than I think I am. And if that helps to reduce that tension, to slow down that heart rate, to breathe a little slower, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that you were born into a body that didn't know how to do anything. You've learned how to handle so many different situations that you didn't think that you could handle. And therefore, given that you've exceeded your wildest expectations, you've handled many difficult situations, overcame many problems and challenges, isn't it safe to say that you've got the ability to handle difficult things? And if that feels like it's true, let me know by nodding your head. And then imagine starting your journey, but with an inner dialogue that is encouraging. Maybe it's saying things like, I've got this. By handling difficult things, I'm getting stronger. Nobody gets stronger by lifting light weights. Nobody boosts their stamina by walking. It's by going outside, beyond the threshold of what's comfortable, that people get stronger and fitter and more resilient. And what if you had that lens of what you're looking things through now? That by doing something difficult, I'm making myself stronger. I want you to imagine that what happened in the past when you experienced this thing happens again. But this time, as the tension increases and you can feel that kettle in your head starting to boil, I want you to come up with an evaluation, a way of assessing what's happening in a way that serves you, that empowers you. This is a temporary feeling and I can handle it. And with that empowering evaluation, just imagine hearing that whistle on the kettle and the tension goes down. If I can handle this, I can handle other things in the future too. You hear that whistle as the pressure is released. And as the pressure is released, just imagine a wave going all over your body and it just reduces that tension even more. Heart rate seems to slow down. Inner dialogue seems to be even more encouraging and slower. Ever notice how difficult it is to feel anxious when your inner dialogue is just really slow? You could say something inside your head. When it's said slowly, has a different meaning. You could say the phrase, I'm completely on my own here, fast with a nervous tonality, and it could increase the pressure in that kettle, or you could say it with confident tonality, said slowly and surely, I'm completely on my own here, and makes it empowering. You could say the phrase inside your own head, I've got no safety nets here. Or you can inject a strong, confident tonality of exactly the same phrase that makes you feel like a superhero, adventurous. I've got no safety nets here. And notice that by changing just the tonality, it changes the evaluation. Your body is evaluating whether or not it thinks you can cope, and if it thinks that it can't cope, it increases the tension. And it's the tension you've been trying to avoid. By giving yourself these powerful, positive valuations, not only do you reduce the tension, but you create powerful new self-fulfilling prophecies that enable these things to be true, because you then can do these things that you thought you previously couldn't. I want you to imagine that in life, your body is your vehicle and you're driving it in any direction that you want. I want you to get a sense that it's not about what you have to do, it's what you want to do and what you get to do. I want you to get a sense that one of your biggest fears was that if I don't eliminate this tension, I'm going to go insane. And if that's true, You now have the ability to be in control of the tension by being in control of the evaluation. By evaluating things in a way that serves you rather than holds you back, you can get the tension to almost nothing. In which case, those walls that have been building up around you are starting to crumble. I want you to imagine a dog with an electric dog collar that's been shocked into never leaving the house, never leaving the immediate space. And then one day the batteries run out of this dog collar. But the dog doesn't dare leave the confines of the house and explore the neighborhood. Not because the collar can shock them, but because the dog thinks the collar can shock them. I want you to imagine that this dog has been wearing this collar with a limited life for years, simply believing that this collar could shock them whenever it leaves a certain distance from their home, not realizing that this collar hasn't been working for a long time. I want you to get a sense that, what if, based on an intense moment, an electrifying moment, you built up belief systems that may have been true at the time that are no longer true? What if it's the beliefs itself that is limiting your choices rather than anything else? And as you open up your mind to the possibility that with new beliefs come new freedoms, it means that the key resource that you will need is courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to take action even when anxiety is there. The dog with the broken electric collar would need courage that very first time that they venture further than they normally do. And once they realize that the collar no longer shocks, or just imagine that that dog can reduce the intensity of the electric shock just by thinking about things in a certain way, then suddenly the world is a big place. That rather than relying on other people, other situations, what if you're able to rely on yourself? Your evaluations based on not how things were, but how you want them to be. I want you to imagine doing this whole thing that in the past caused a lot of tension, but now gives you an opportunity to figure out what evaluations to change. And then imagine doing the whole thing from a position of, I can handle this. I can do this. This is within my comfort zone. And take as long as you need, but once you've done that whole thing the way you would want to have done it, in the first person, with an absence of any severe tension, just let me know by nodding your head. Perhaps you can do it even more than once. Because what you're doing here is building powerful, empowering neural pathways that serve you, that link doing the thing with a feeling of being resourceful, and resourceful just means you can handle it. And the good news is that even if you handle it just once in your real life, that becomes new evidence that you can handle it again and again And this whole thing that's been a snowball working against you now becomes a snowball working for you. And I want you to imagine a future where you have exactly the freedom that you would want. See that version of you, perhaps just a few months in the future, living life the way you would want to. And just realize that each and every time you show courage, you're getting one step closer to that future. Therefore, the future is no longer just aspirational. It's a destination, and courage enables you to get closer to that destination. And if you can picture the future that you would want to have, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to see yourself. You can tell from your facial expressions, your body language. This is not the you from the past, this is you in the future. This is a version of you that thinks differently and feels differently, and therefore is not controlled in the way that you have been controlled. And the more you imagine yourself in the future, living life in the way you would want to live your life, perhaps doing some of the things that have been a challenge to do in the past, you're creating a powerful new roadmap to know what to do and the times to show courage to get there. And the final evaluation before we leave this imaginary journey is simply the evaluation that you are more resourceful than you think you are. But the way that we tap into our resources is by doing things we don't think that we can do. And as you hold on to that thought, imagine finding yourself back there in that first class airline recliner seat in that garden. Imagine getting up out of that seat, looking around, feeling the sun on your skin, the blue skies, the flowers, but feeling that something has changed. Perhaps you're still wearing that electric collar, but you now have the control to activate it. If you want to make it more intense, evaluate that you can't handle certain things, and if you want to reduce it, just realize that when you evaluate all the things that you are in control of, the tension goes down, you're in control of the tonality of your inner dialogue, the words you use, and you're also in control of the decisions you make. There's nothing you have to do, only things that you choose to do. I want you to get a sense that as you feel there is a possibility of a future where you're in more control, it's time to leave this garden and find yourself back in your body, listening to my voice firmly in the present. And very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. But first, just to make sure you're fully associated into the present, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now. As I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.